How does one measure wealth? The shimmering water, the overflowing green, these are the marshlands that are found in Poland. There are many creatures living along the waterside. The people live peacefully while benefiting from the bounty of nature. Here, you can find villages nestled in a world in harmony with nature. In the marshlands of the snow country, the villagers and animals live their daily life throughout the changing of the seasons. The temperature is 30 degrees below 0 Celsius. During the winter, the marshland completely freezes over. This is the Biebrzanarew marshland, located in the northeastern region of Poland. Along the river that cuts through the marshland, there are about 100 large and small settlements that dot the waterside where people have been living for ages. Cattle breeding is their livelihood. Milk is produced, and wheat and potatoes are harvested to sustain the people. The winters here are long and harsh. Both people and animals struggle to survive. It is the end of March. The scenery undergoes a great transformation. Melting snow from the surrounding forest and fields sends water rushing in, causing the rivers to flood. Each year during this season, a significant change in water level swells the lake to over 600 square kilometers. The the water level rises 2 meters, reaching the edges of the settlements. But it does not appear that the residents are doing anything to hold back the water. Water has completely covered the marshland from corner to corner. Under the water, a big change is taking place. Flowering plants, which were dormant during the winter, are now awake. The water that has passed through the forests and fields contains many nutrients. Various types of vegetation absorb the rays of the sun and grow as if in a competition with each other. It is April. A large bird flutters elegantly in the golden fog. There is another bird. They are white storks. The white stork has returned home after spending the winter in far-off places such as Africa. The white storks return to the settlements. It is hard to believe, but they have built large nests on the utility poles and on the roofs of the houses. These nests have been used by the white storks for many years. The pecking of the beak serves as a mating call. It is now mating season. It is believed that the white stork brings happiness to each home. Thus, the residents construct a large platform for the white storks and watch over them with great care. In the yard of a farmhouse, a large nest rests on the top of a huge tree. These are the heads of the household, Mr. and Mrs. Popko. They have been farming here for many generations.
When I was 14 years old, I climbed that tree to cut off the branch at the very top and made a platform. I wanted the white stork to bring happiness to our house too. It's been 40 years since then. They're like a part of our family now.
Yes, that's true. Every spring when the white stork return, I get renewed energy thinking that this year will again be a good year.
Mr. Popko has 30 milking cows. Among the 30 cows are some stout, brown-colored cows.
This is the red Polish cow. It is a specialty of this region. My father, grandfather, and great-grandfather have all raised red Polish cows through the generations. They are sturdy, long-living cows and eat a lot of whatever vegetation there is. It is the perfect cow for these marshlands.
Red Polish cows were once found all over Poland, but now their number has decreased to just a few hundred. Milk from the red Polish cow has a high fat content and full, rich flavor. But these cows produce less milk when compared to Holstein cows, so there are fewer people raising red Polish cows every year. It is the middle of April. Plants that have been growing underwater break through the surface. This is the Caltha palustris. Terrace farming has begun. Cow manure, collected during the winter, is spread over the field. Chemical fertilizers are rarely ever used. Most of the wheat and potatoes that are produced are for home consumption and livestock feed. The white stork remains close by as the villagers work busily. The white stork can have a wingspan of up to 2 meters. 2,000 of these large birds gather in this area. Their target is frogs awakening from their winter hibernation. The deluge of water resulting from the melted snow spreads out over the shallow beach, making for a good bird feeder. A bird sits on a nearby nest. There seem to be eggs laid already. In the sky above, a large flock of birds appears. They are waterfowl that spent the winter in southern Europe and Africa. These birds have also, once again, returned to breed. In the marshland, vegetation can be seen growing everywhere. food is plentiful at the water's edge. These are spiral-shelled snails living in the shade of the vegetation. The insects have become active. After getting sufficient nourishment and recovering from their tiring journey, they prepare for hatching. There are more than 180 species of birds that raise chicks in the marshland. This is a valuable breeding area for birds that remain in Europe. It is May. The land that was covered in water again changes its appearance. The water that overflowed begins to recede, and the growing vegetation begins to blanket the surrounding areas. As it dries, the marshland shows its richest vegetation of the year. The lively animals enjoy the bright sunshine and the warmth of the water. A long-awaited day has finally arrived for the villagers. The cows that have been raised in the barn for 6 months will be turned out to pasture. Even the cows seem to step with new energy. They have come to a running stream at the edge of the village. Exactly what are they going to do? Amazingly, the cows have begun swimming. The cows are headed toward the grassy area on the opposite bank, 200 meters away.
Inaczej powiedzieć, to może ona taka mniej wartościowa jest. Ale dla nas to jest z tym dobra, że jest dobra wygoda. Ich puścił, ja nie wiem, bo niech teraz już woda duża.
The cows reach the pasture. The grass is dense, having absorbed so much of the nutrients from the snowmelt. Winters are harsh in these marshlands, so that very few microscopic organisms live in the soil, which makes for poor soil quality. There is no way for such abundant vegetation to grow without the nutrient-rich water. The reason the villagers let the water overflow at the beginning of spring was to help this vegetation grow. The cows are allowed to feed on the grass to their heart's content until the snowfall at the end of autumn. This is a cycle that has been repeated in the marshland for hundreds of years. The cows are not the only ones to take advantage of the pastures. There is a curlew nest, built after the water receded from the grassy area. It is about time that the chicks start hatching from their eggs. In the spring, the shallow waters were valuable feeding grounds for the waterfowl. Now that it has transformed into a pasture, it has become an important location to raise chicks. In the depths of the river, the reeds are growing high. Here at this reed field, there is an unusual type of hawk making a nest. This is the Montagu's Harrier Circus pagargus. The pure white chicks are probably about 2 weeks old. The female is guarding the nest. The male has arrived. He is holding food in his talons. When the chicks are young, the male hunts while the female looks after the chicks. The female has now flown off. It is a wonderfully coordinated maneuver performed in harmony. Their diet consists primarily of mice found in the fields and pastures. The Montagu's Harrier makes effective use of nature in the marshlands and the settlements in order to raise their chicks. Even in the village, the white stork chicks are hatching in their nests. To protect the chicks from the bright sun, the parents use their own bodies to provide shade from the sun. At the Popko farm, where red Polish cows are raised, it is time to release them to pasture. Here, you see the marshland turned into a meadow right in front of his farm. The chicks in the nest at the top of the tree are well hidden under the thick leaves. The white stork parent walks among the cows. The other white stork has arrived. They are hunting insects living in the grass. When the cow walks, the insects jump up. The white stork makes clever use of the cow's movements. Mr. Popko says that the white storks often gather around the red Polish cows. As the marshland flourishes, the cows eat everything in sight. A frog hiding in the grass becomes visible. The white stork does not let the frog escape. With plenty of insects and frogs packed in their stomachs, they return back to the nest to the waiting chicks. There are usually 3 or 4 chicks. It takes 2 months for the birds to grow and leave the nest. Even living alongside humans, the storks continue their chick rearing. It is early morning. A small boat crosses the river. The villagers are going to milk the cows in the pasture across the riverbank. Mr. and Mrs. Radzivon are one of these farming families. Every morning and evening, they cross the river in their boat to milk the cows. Milking is time-consuming. Mr. Radzivon says that it takes all his effort to raise 10 cows. The people here do not ask for more than what nature gives them, and they live together in harmony with the marshland. It is a lifestyle that has continued for generations. It is July. The height of the grass has reached 1 meter. The waterfowl have finished raising their young and moved to the waterside where food is easier to obtain. The villagers have been waiting for this moment. They are preparing hay for the winter. Where they once used to cut hay with large sickles, they now use tractors. Cutting the hay is essential to the survival of the white storks. The white storks gather one by one. The white storks are still in the midst of rearing their young. They require a lot of food. After cutting the hay, it becomes much easier to find food. The villagers welcome the white storks since they capture mice and pests that overrun the fields. After a week, the cut, dried hay will be bundled and transported to the village. Even in this age of mechanization, this is a major operation that requires the participation of the entire family. The children, who are on summer vacation, also help.
This is a spot that was flooded in the spring. Because of the nutrients in the water that were good for the growth of the grass, there is no need for chemical fertilizers. Since the white storks eat the insects, we don't use pesticides either. Since the grass is all natural, it results in delicious milk that is good for the body.
The melting snow helps the grass to grow, which in turn feeds the cows. And the white storks live in close proximity to the cows, who live together with the people. Even in the heat of summer, the main stream flows with an abundance of water. This unique ferry brings together the fields and the village. Water from the marshland gathers in this river and soaks the Polish land before finally pouring into the Baltic Sea. Taking care of the horses is just one form of play for the children. Horses, like cows, are important livestock. Sand is applied to kill off parasites that may have become attached to their bodies. As they play, they naturally gain knowledge about their environment and about life. It is now August, and preparation of the hay has been partially completed. Many people have come from neighboring villages to gather in the middle of the marshland for a contest harkening back to their agrarian past, where contestants measure their hay-cutting skill using a large sickle.
I to jest potrzebne dla czynnej ochrony przyrody tych bagien, ponieważ gdyby nie wykaszano tych bagien, one by szybko zarosły, tak jak widać w koło tutaj, więc mamy tutaj teren, który nie zarasta, który jest co roku wykaszany, więc jeden cel jest takie utrzymanie tradycji, a drugi cel to czynna ochrona przyrody.
This marshland in the north has a low temperature. Plants that have withered do not decompose quickly. If left as is, grass that dies will accumulate over the months and years, making it difficult for new grass to grow. The marshland has remained protected due to the work done by local people. This competition is based upon speed and accuracy of cutting hay. Scenes like this were everywhere up until about 30 years ago. But now, tractors are used. They are unable to reach some areas of the marshland and leave them uncut, which causes concerns regarding the future of the marshland. Through these competitions, the villagers are trying to pass on the tradition of living in concert with the marshlands. These are chicks that were raised in the midst of humans. They are now the same size as their parents. This is Mr. Popko's farm, where he raises the traditional red Polish cow. The first chick safely leaves the nest. There is one more chick left in the nest. The bird has finally flown off. In a little while, the white stork parents and children will all gather at the marshland. Then, at the end of August, the flock will travel to Africa and other winter migration regions. It is September. The reed fields have completely changed to autumn colors, and the elk have made their appearance. With its magnificent horns, the male can reach a weight of 500 kilograms. This is a wheat field where the harvest has come to an end. The animals that were active in the marshlands during the summer gradually disappear from the area. On the terraced fields, the potato harvest has begun. This is the Radziwiłł family that earlier milked their cows on the islet. Potatoes are a main staple of their daily meals. These are their teenage daughters. The youngest daughter, who is in elementary school, also helps out a lot. A red fox trots out of the neighboring cornfield. Could it be eyeing a mouse that jumped out after being startled by the farming? Marshland animals are always around the village residents. Winter again comes to the marshland. It is Christmas Eve. In the Radziwiłł home, a traditional Polish Christmas Eve is observed. The hay that was cut in the summer is placed on top of the dining room table and covered with a white tablecloth.
Bogu dziękować, żeśmy doczekali do świąt. Boża dała nam dożyć, zdrowiu i rozpoczynamy Wigilię. No Matka wszystkiego najlepszego, czego dużo zdrowia, szczęścia, pomyślności. 100 lat życia. Żebyś grzeczna była, dobrze się uczyła, same szóstki w szkole miała i się słuchała.
Christmas Eve dinner consists of fish caught from the marshland and vegetables from the garden. Potatoes harvested by the family are also served. After the meal, the hay that was placed on the dining table is taken out. The family heads to the cow barn. The hay is fed to the cows.
Tak, tak, i ty dał. Bliżej brzuch. I pijałeś. Mama ci nic nie zrobi.
cows are also important members of the family. This is what the family firmly believes. This is Mr. Popko's farm, where he raises red Polish cows. His wife, Danuta, is making red cow cheese. Red cow cheese has a rich taste and is a traditional food renowned throughout this area. This cheese is the pride of the Popko household. The fermented hay fed to the cows gives off a white steam. His son, Leszek, is helping with the chores. Leszek plans to take over the family business and continue to raise red Polish cows.
I became a cow breeder watching my own father, who was also a cow breeder. My son grew up watching me and says that he likes breeding cows. It is because these marshlands are so wonderful. Nothing is polluted. It is all natural. From natural grass, we get delicious milk. From delicious milk, quality cheese is produced.
The warmth of the people that continue to live in the marshlands can be felt by all. The white stork's nest quietly watches over everyone and everything. With the changing of the seasons, Poland's marshlands greatly change the appearance of the northern country. Just as the earth revolves around the sun in an immense cycle of life and of nature, the lives of the people and animals continue to revolve around each other.